All right, guys. Well, we're here today with Daniella Rosa, the founder of AIEA. Many of y'all already know her. We've got Daniel Oliver, an aspiring professional race car driver. And today we're just going to talk about AIEA's vision and all the exciting things that lie ahead for AIEA in this upcoming season. So, yeah, take it away, Daniella. Where are we at?
Thanks, Evan. Yeah, so I built this brand from the ground up. I launched last January, so January 2024. It's a women's golf apparel brand that is from my heart and soul and fixing a problem that I've had for a long time as a golfer. I've been golfing for over 20 years. I used to play competitively when I was younger and now just socially as an adult. And over the years, I just kept hitting the same two issues. One, I can't find any apparel that I like to buy and wear that actually fit me well and that I think is cool enough, frankly, for the course and for my style. And two, community was kind of few and far between in the golf world. Aside from that kind of like bro-y golf culture, there's not a lot of other options of getting involved in the sport. So a couple of years ago, I had an aha moment out when I was playing golf in Colorado, and I thought, why not try to build a brand that embodies me and that I, build clothing that I would actually buy and wear myself. So I quit my real job, if you will, and I've been building this from the ground up ever since. That was 3 years ago. So
yeah, no, it's been awesome to obviously get to know you. We've been friends the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And, seeing how the brand has evolved, and I'll say, like, it's quite bold to go into an industry like golf. It's like most people would think of golf as like a pretty overly saturated market, right?
Yeah.
But I think with anything in 2025, like, that's no excuse. And like, there's so many different ways that we can innovate in these different industries and come up with new approaches and brands that really resonate with communities and people. And whatever you're doing, I hope that's what you're facilitating, is a connection, to people. And also, like, we've talked about it often, where build the sort of company like that you needed, right?
Exactly.
And I think that's, that everything comes back from the vision of AIEA to who you are, and what's a problem that you had first. And I think that's going to resonate with so many people.
Yeah, I mean, you're right in saying that the golf industry is saturated like many athletic industries, but it's been saturated with the same thing for a long time.
Yeah, just redone.
So it's the same colored shirt, the same fits, the same fabrics, the same patterns, and something's got to give, something's got to change. And I think there's a huge hole in the market for like cool women's golf apparel, or just any different type of golf apparel, especially for women. And post-pandemic, tons of people picked up the sport. It's a great sport to play outside by yourself with your friends. It's a good mental sport. And there's just so many things that come with the golf culture that people are starting to really pick up and recognize, which I love. That's one of the main things I love about the sport and why I've been playing for so long. It's so essential to my core because of that. It's not just about the physical movement. It's about everything else in the building blocks behind the sport also.
Yeah, and I love your brand because it does bridge like performance and style, and that's obviously that's a statement for a lot of people, no matter what industry you're in. Like, the old saying, if you look good, you play good, right?
100%.
And that's becoming such a focal point in golf. You see so many brands and fashion brands really moving into it, and it's like, yeah, we can acknowledge the trend, but also there's so much room to do it uniquely.
Yeah.
And connect with your customer base. And I think, like, just everything that you have going on with AIEA is exactly that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, you recently picked up golf a little bit too.
I did,
and you have your own personal style, and I'm sure sometimes it's hard to find in the traditional golf clothing something that fits your style, right? So
for sure,
you feel the same way as a man. So
yeah, my first day on the range, like, I mean, I've grew up hitting balls here and there, but like the day that I decided, like, all right, I'm gonna get my own set and like pursue it.
Yeah,
my first lesson, I went out there and I just looked like a straight up like PGA guy,
Exactly.
And now I'm kind of like reining it back. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I can still be me. But I had like the Nike Polo tucked in, Lululemon pants, golf shoes. I was like, all right, like, I already stick out like a sore thumb with my tattoos on a golf course. So but I mean, there's so much to be excited about like this summer and moving into the fall, and just getting to understand your vision. Like, what are some of the things that are, I mean, obviously we're going to get into the racing partnership here shortly, but on just your personal journey as a business owner, as a brand builder, and all the hats that you wear, like what's exciting about this point in time with AIEA and you in general?
Well, for me, what kind of lights my fire every morning through the multiple struggles of building a business is this is really coming from my soul. And I feel like I can maneuver the business how I want, truly because I love what I do. I love the business, and the business is an embodiment of me, but also because I love the sport and I see what can come from it just on every single level. And there's so many opportunities to tap into that for men and women, whoever wants to get involved in the sport. And my biggest thing is bridging this sense of golf culture, not necessarily picking up a physical club, but there's a lot with the culture of golf that is so special, the community behind it. And you and I have talked extensively too about like who is that AIEA golf girl, and the AIEA golf girl is me. And what does that mean? It's someone who enjoys the sport. I happen to play for a long time. I enjoy the sport. It's not my entire life. It's part of my life. I consider myself fairly well-rounded. I like to travel. I have a lot of different interests. So it's just one part of like a multi-purpose person. And I think most golfers are like that. Most golfers, this next generation, which I really connect with, this next generation of golfer, is this multifaceted person. So this person who connects more with golf culture, and the sport actually comes second to that.
Yeah, and I think that's important when we're building any brand, is like you have to get really clear on not only what your values are, but the values that you want to portray with your brand. And I think that speaks to so many people that, you know, life or golf is really a lifestyle, you know.
Right, exactly.
And it's access and a reason to take trips and spend times with friends and get outside. And I think that's what you do really well, is like your brand and your designs translate both on the course and off the course. And you know, you've said it that way to me before. And I just want to know like how you see that fitting into like everyday life, not just in golf, but where your apparel fits in.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest things when I started this company is that I have to be able to wear what I'm selling, right? And at the core of that, I don't like golfy looking golf wear. I don't like the traditional collared shirt. I don't like the long or the short skirt. I want to make sure it fits me well, and I can transition, truly leave the golf course wearing something that is appropriate for the golf course, but no one actually knows that I was golfing. That was really important to me. So I do a lot of other activities. I do yoga, Pilates, I box, I do a bunch of other things. I need gear that's going to truly transition into those other facets of my life. And so that's really important to me, that the gear truly transitions off the course.
Totally.
Yeah.
Well, Daniel, thank you so much for joining us, man. I would love to get into, you know, what this next chapter of AIEA is, and, you know, all of the expansive, you know, ideas and plans that y'all have moving into this next phase. And obviously you're a professional race car driver, and we're gearing up for a race here pretty soon. Yeah. So yeah, I'd love to hear the story, you know, of how y'all met and how this concept came to be and what we're about to embark on.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it's actually quite interesting because I feel like motorsports is like 70% actual like motorsports stuff, and like the remaining 30% is like networking. So we actually met at an event that we were putting on. I am a junior driver for a team called Vision Motorsports, and so we were putting on an event that was actually, you know, created to kind of gain attention or seek or show interest in these kinds of things around our season that was coming up this year. So Jordan Wallace is my mentor and like the lead driver on the team, and I'm you know, the newer driver. We were having an event at Petrol Lounge here in Austin around F1. So those events are great because they can get a lot of like-minded people together, you know, people that may be interested in motorsport, people that may not be interested in motorsport, but there's that common factor of F1 that gets them together. And so Daniella was actually at our event, and we met, and I think we hit it off like immediately.
Yeah, we did.
So yeah, that was the beginning of that. And I think, you know, I feel like we we spoke there. We had like in-depth conversation. Like you even spoke with my wife for a good while, and then the next thing you know, we're already chatting and making plans and seeing how we can, have a bit of synergy around what we're doing in motorsports, and then also what you're doing in the golfing, but also the athletic space in general.
Right.
I think, and I think that's the main tied together point. So, that's kind of the story for the intro.
Yeah, I was invited randomly to this event, and I'm glad that I went. And I feel like we did hit it off right away. And I went with kind of zero expectations, just not knowing what I was going to do there. And when I met Daniel and your wife, you're good people. We connected in a lot of different levels. And my first thought was, this is actually a really cool opportunity to maybe do some collaborative gear with a team, a motorsports team, but also like the woman that, or the man who plays golf also has a lot of interests, like I mentioned before. So that well-rounded person, the person that's golfing is also going to F1, is also traveling, has many other interests. So to me, it actually makes sense to do some type of collaboration outside of golf. And this was kind of an opportunity that opened up unknowingly.
Right.
We were talking about doing gear, and then the next 5 meetings, AIEA Golf is now a sponsor of Daniel, which is super cool.
Yeah.
And it's funny how those things turned out.
No, I mean, I think you're exactly right. Breaking into motorsport, being very new into motorsport, we can talk about like my background and all those kinds of things in a minute, but as I grow, I want to not just have partners for partner's sake. It's very important to me to have partners that represent some of my own values and actually make sense. Totally. I think myself, who I am, where I come from, jumping into something, I have to do it in a way that resonates with my personal brand, again, my personal beliefs, and it's just actually cool, right? Like, I don't want to do the typical corporate, whatever. It's just not interesting to me. So when we find partners and brands and people that, really just naturally are cool. I think that
somebody you want to share with.
Yeah, we want to go down that journey with those kinds of people and those kinds of brands. And I think it's easier for us to, as drivers, especially drivers, again, from my kind of background, to represent brands and people that are cool, because we like cool things. We're kind of like non-traditional. Motorsports typically is very gentlemanly, very the polo and the chino pants.
Yeah,
it's very, very like nip tuck kind of thing. And we're not like that. I come from normal sports. Yeah, I come from normal stick and ball sports, mixed martial arts, skateboarding, and so all of those things throughout my life has influenced my style, the things that I'm interested in, and I don't want to change that just because I'm in motorsport. And in fact, we're finding that motorsports is growing and being influenced by the same things that we already like. So we want to push through the traditional things, and really make a space for ourselves. So
and I love that, because you're both brand owners, and I think that's where we start to recognize the power of collaboration and finding alignment in our values and in our brands. That's just a simple way of unlocking, the relationships that bring new ideas and new energy. And I think that's where like the really special part of what y'all are doing comes into play, and gives you a whole new trajectory that you may not have seen coming, but you recognize an opportunity when you see one.
Yeah.
And I know y'all both pretty well, and I know y'all both have really clear visions on who you are and what you want to do and the way you want to do it. And I think this is like the power of collaboration is what truly unlocks that sense of expansiveness, where those are the things that like really fire you up as a visionary, where you're like, oh wow, I didn't even really see this coming or specifically manifest this, but now that it's here, like I want to do it in a big way,
for sure,
and support one another throughout that.
Yeah, and you could do it non-traditionally too.
Yeah.
That's like what you mentioned is
Exactly.
really hitting home, and that's one of the things I was so attracted to about your team in general is that you don't want to do things in a traditional sense. Like it's the same, nothing wrong with that, but same with the golf world. It's been the same forever, and we're both trying to forge our own paths right now, which is difficult but
Yeah.
exciting. And so if you can find brand partners to do that with, it makes a world of a difference.
Totally. So
Yeah.
what is your journey and your path to driving? How's that gone? What's that been like?
It's been interesting. So I'm 30 now, which when you think about motorsports, like I think most people will probably look at F1. Maybe in the States, people look at like NASCAR and stuff like that. But I think F1 is probably, for the traditional like motorsports path, it's probably the most prescriptive. And so generally, it's really, really rich kids going karting for a long time. Then they get into the lower formulas and they, kind of continue on that path. And so generally, if you're not of that demographic and you don't get in it very, very young, it's very difficult to break into motorsports. But we're finding now that with sports car racing in general, so not so much the formula cars, but your more traditional cars like a Porsche or a McLaren or something like that, you can actually find ways to break in. And so it took me until I was nearly 30 to kind of get to this point. But I've always wanted to be a race car driver. It just didn't really have that, like I said, that accessibility. I did not fit that demographic. Right. I don't come from that kind of space. I come from Baltimore, Maryland. I am I had single mom, like, that kind of story. So racing was very, very far away.
Sure.
I got to watch it on TV. I got to play it in video games, but that was the extent of it. And as I've kind of grown, I've built a decent career for myself. So I've jumped into like little track days and things like that. But again, still racing is still quite far away. Fast forward to about a year and a half ago, I meet Jordan Wallace, who I mentioned before was a mentor of mine. And he comes from a similar space as me, exact same kind of story. But he actually broke into motorsports at a high level. And he said, this is what you do. And so ever since then, I've been laser focused because, I've done pretty well in my career thus far. I'm in software engineering up until this point. And I still love that. It's still a big part of my identity. But having that engineering background and then finding this new problem to solve in racing and jumping into it and kind of like wanting to fulfill that dream, I attacked it head on. Within a year, I got my international competition license, and now I'm in Europe racing, and
wow.
we've gotten some good results up until now. Very, 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 very happy about that. And but yeah, it's still been a journey. Still a long, long way to go.
Totally.
But it's been good thus far.
Yeah, I think that's. I'm so glad you met Jordan and, have a mentor in the space. And I'm sure all of us have had, amazing mentors that have like really pointed their finger and gave us, at least an immediate trajectory. And that's an awesome story. And how is your, mind and day-to-day as an engineer influence your approach to racing?
It influences it in very interesting ways. Racing is a very mental sport. Being physically fit, which I like to pride myself on being very, very into physical fitness, especially coming from the traditional kind of sports, it helps, right? But honestly, the mental side is way bigger.
Totally.
You have to get through your confidence phase. There's a big confidence thing of, charging through this corner 130 miles an hour. Like it's not normal, right? You have to kind of overwrite your brain to do it. But also, the lines and setting up moves on people to make passes and the actual data that we study, it's not just go around the track as fast as you can. It's come back and look at all of the different data points from the car, from yourself, analyze that, and then come to a decision of how you need to proceed. That's what I do every day in my day job, right?
Sure.
So I approach it in the same way. I approach it as an engineer. The actual motorsports engineers that I've worked with quite like that because I think it's familiar to them. So that's been an advantage of mine. But yeah, I just treat it like any other engineering problem, honestly. I go very hard. I am quite aggressive. But at the end of the day, it's just another problem, to solve. And that's how I approach it.
Yeah, and I love that as a bridge, between golf and driving, and I think I would love to hear your perspective, Daniela, on what you think some of the similarities are between these two sports. I'm sure your approach to driving resonates with a lot of golfers that are listening to this right now, and just expand on, why you chose this partnership and where, you really decided to pursue that.
Yeah, I mean, my biggest driver, no pun intended, with this partnership was that both golf and racing are intensely mental, just like what Daniel was saying. They're highly mental sports. No matter what people say about golf, it's a mental game. You're only playing against yourself. And it's the same thing with driving, I can imagine.
Yeah.
You're driving against yourself. You're racing against yourself. So the real importance of that for me, especially growing up playing, I want to bring that to the world in a different way. And so it attracted me to this world of motorsports, and that connection there to me is very relevant. And I've met people now that this partnership has been building, other drivers, and they mention that they play golf to kind of hone that skill of flossing your mental capacity. And I know you have other things that you do, maybe non-golf related, that do the same thing. So that was kind of number one for me, how this bridge makes sense. Two, I think they're both fashion-forward sports in their own way. I think if you look at it from the outside in kind of an umbrella view, it maybe doesn't seem that way. But right now, especially in the past 5 years for both sports, we're at this new age where this next generation of driver and this next generation of golfer are coming in, and we're like, we don't want to do the same traditional thing. We don't want to wear the same thing. We have tremendous respect for the sport or the car, and we want to make it our own while still, making sure that we're giving that respect to the sport in whatever way that is. So the fashion side of that too. And three, frankly, for me, I'm hitting the same customer. So again, like the golfer is also the person that travels. They most likely are involved in racing in some capacity, or whatever other sport that's kind of at that level. And so it's the same, I'm hitting the same person. So the same eyeballs are on on Daniel, that would be on my brand. And it's just kind of bringing this next generation golfer to the surface of like, okay, just because you golf doesn't mean that's your whole identity. I know you have 18 other things that you do. Let's celebrate that. And this is a cool way of doing that.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love focusing on the mindset of that, where I can pretty much get along with anybody that, is passionate and takes performance in some aspect of their life seriously, and there's a sense of relatability in that translates across industries, across markets, beyond one specific sport, to where, somebody that takes their golf game seriously and somebody that's a driver can probably sit down and relate over so many things. And I think that's just, that's so powerful, especially now, as like you're talking about with the, this influence of brands and branding, both in golf and driving. Like obviously we see it with, Lewis Hamilton and a lot of these guys where, I feel like F1 and driving used to be such a, just sponsored heavy event. Like people weren't paying attention as much to the drivers. I know there's obviously iconic drivers.
Sure. Yeah.
But you really see it with this evolution of media and branding and social media, where you really want to get to know who it is that's driving the car.
For sure.
And then they're also in a position now where they get to express themselves and now make decisions because of their personal brand, which is really cool. And we see a lot of the same thing and same things in golf. So what's your approach to like your brand and how you want to position yourself?
Well, it's really interesting that you said that, like F1 specifically, it used to be so like corporate, like very sponsor heavy. And you find now that it's changed quite a bit. You mentioned Lewis and kind of how he's done fashion, and he's kind of now other drivers are doing it, and that kind of thing. So, but you're also finding with the teams, like the identity of the teams and their sponsors and partners is actually quite different. Or sorry, the relationship is actually quite different now, in that those brands become synonymous with those teams. So like Mercedes, for example, the Tommy Hilfiger thing, it was all in all their team gear for years and years and years. And it was great, athletic fit, breathable clothing, but you could still wear it, you'd see those people in that team kit out. I mean, I've gone to dinner at like kind of fancy places during F1 weekend, and someone's got like a Tommy Hilfiger like Mercedes like jersey on. So there's a lot to be gained, I think, in kind of just doing what's natural. I think that's just really what we always wanted, to be honest. Like people always wanted to have like athletic, fit, like normal things. You even seen like Nike and motorsports like years and years ago, but you don't see it anymore. It's because that's really what people want. And so it's just becoming a bit more apparent now, and it's being quite successful, and I think that's good. And so I just kind of want to do the same thing, right? Like when I think of like, if I make clothing for my team gear, like I'm doing it on a comfortable, athletic fit shirt, because that's what I want to wear.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, like it's not, I don't want to put something like some polo or something. It's just not interesting to me. So I'm not going to wear it. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's expression too. You know, even here in Austin, we had Formula One here in Austin in October, and man, it's cool to see like Daniel Ricciardo like showing up to the race in a cowboy hat, Texas jersey. And, I guess people, with how much access we have to media, you're really getting to see the full story. And I think that this partnership is an expression of that as well, where it's like, maybe you're finding this partnership through AIEA, and once we start producing, content around you, maybe some of your fans and, teammates and everything will discover Daniella's brand, which that's how that works. And, we're getting to tell a full story, through y'all's brands, that's going to connect and open people's minds to so many different things, which is really exciting, that you can kind of tear down some of these walls where people say, I like this and not this. And, if you're able to connect to your audience in a new way and show them what you're passionate about or what you're passionate about, that's going to open people's minds to new things and hopefully stuff that they enjoy.
Well, it's about that relatability too, right? We're both working in sports that have a lot of red tape or that seem like inaccessible in some ways, and we're both in it, and we're like, wait, no, we're in it, so you can be in it too.
It's possible.
It's possible, and we're both coming from different trajectories, and there's many ways for us, I think, to bring that to the world in a different way. So.
Well, you mentioned the world. Well, the three of us are about to embark on a journey. Daniel's headed out shortly, gearing up for the Silverstone GP. So I'd love to hear, what that's like preparing for that.
Yeah. Silverstone is a crazy track. It is one of the premier like F1 tracks, and so not being in F1 and getting to race there, I think, is a privilege. We have COTA obviously here, and I've been there tons of times, and Silverstone's like England's COTA, right? So the preparation it can be intense. So I started in sim racing before I even got to really drive on an actual track. And so the sim is an amazing tool that we use now to really, really prepare. You can do 1,000 laps in the sim before you ever step into the car. And so you end up being quite familiar. Yeah, because the sims are so good now. So I do a lot of that. And it is actually pretty physical. You probably wouldn't expect it. Like my brake pedal was like 400 pounds to get to peak pressure and stuff like that. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's a bit heavier than like my normal car, but it just kind of helps you train the fine motor skills, all the braking, the pressure that you have to have on release and all those kinds of things. But also it trains like your vision and your rhythm. Because again, it's a very mental thing, motorsports. So we spend a lot of time in that. I mean, I'm on the sim every day at some point. The professional coaches that I have, we meet a couple of times a week. I do esports as well professionally, which keeps me kind of sharp in the mind, being competitive. And that can be difficult because some of these people are so fast in the sim. But then also in the gym. So a lot of time in the gym throughout the week, just getting stronger, focusing on the neck a lot because when you're strapped in the car, the only thing that is kind of supporting your head is your neck. So when you're dealing with the G-forces, you have to have quite a strong neck. So I mean, it's just very, very intense. I have probably about a month between each round that I do throughout the year, and that entire month is just hardcore training and recovery. Yeah, it's very important. So that's kind of how it is.
You said your brake pedal's 400 pounds. I had to look down at your calves and see if one calf is significantly bigger than the other.
The left one is definitely, it has like some, I noticed like some really weird muscles that I don't notice on the right one.
Yeah.
So yes, it
So
is.
you only do right calf in the gym. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting because I do it so much. I actually find recovery really important because if you do like a leg day, like you could be out for like a week because it is quite intense. So the way we train is a little different. Like we don't do so much like super heavy weights and things like that. And also like
more endurance.
Yeah, it's endurance based. Also, I'm 6 foot tall, 200 pounds, broad shoulders. I'm already too big for motorsports in general, so I can't get any bigger anyway. So, you know, we train a little bit differently, but honestly, it's just always really intense.
Yeah, well, I'd love to, you know, obviously, you know, you've got your brand and your team. We've seen your helmet here and, you know, your team colors and everything.
Yeah.
And I'd love to expand on, you know, what this partnership has looked like first, you know, from a design aspect. And obviously we've been working with Diggs and check out Creative Diggs. He's an amazing designer.
He's awesome.
But it's been so cool to see, you know, a lot of these pieces and these limited edition items like come to fruition. And it's like really making this partnership like tactile and like something that's you can grasp and see it. And, you know, touching on the brands and expression of drivers, like I feel like through Daniella and this partnership, like we've really been able to bring some of that out. So I'd love you to talk about that and what's exciting.
Yeah, I always knew from the moment I met you that I wanted to do some type of collaborative garment. If I was going to do this partnership, like physical pieces had to be a part of that, obviously. And this is also my first kind of foray into men's gear in a way. I mean, it's not golf gear. So we have a collaborative soccer jersey that we're doing together, which is really cool. I've had some ups and downs with it, some production things, but we're getting through it.
Manufacturing,
Manufacturing can be a nightmare, and we're learning that the hard way, but we're learning and we're getting through it, and it's going to be great. The jersey is going to be really cool. I can't wait to get that out to I can't wait to have it on you.
I'm stoked.
We're going to do a photo shoot in a couple weeks, which is exciting. Get some really great pictures from that. And then we have a couple pieces that I made just for you. Just to make sure you're decked out in some cool AIEA Daniel gear for the rest of the year. So I can't wait to show that to the world too, and we'll see how people react to that. So
it's all confidence.
Yeah, it's all confidence.
You're 100%. It's so true, right? I mean, even our suits, you see like racing suits, like they're very custom, and you know, like there'll be the sponsors and these things on there, which is great. But the suits and the helmets are very deeply personal to like the driver. How they design that around their identity is super important because for sure, if you look good, if things fit well, you know, I mean, I've been in a race car in like a super baggy suit. And it sucks. It sucks. And it doesn't look good in pictures, like any of the stuff, right? So if you get like a nice tailored suit, that's a design that you like, that's good material, breathable, you're gonna perform well. And so it's 100% true.
Same with golf.
Exactly.
That's exactly why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Exactly.
You know? Exactly like what you said before. So I'm excited to see your suit in real life.
Yeah. We've got a new one coming.
Okay, that's so exciting. That's really exciting.
Is it gonna have it for the race in June?
It should. Cool. It should actually be. I should have it soon, actually. So
awesome. Are you excited for Evan and I to be there to watch you race?
So you guys haven't been to any motorsport stuff?
No. So this will be my first race. You've been to F1.
I was at
right?
F1 Miami 2 years ago, but from very back.
F1 is interesting. It's a great event, but I will tell you, I think these like smaller, and I say that with quotes because it's not F1, but they're still massive series. From my series that I'm in now to like IMSA, which is like the biggest like sports car series, you know, in America and arguably the world. The level of closeness that you can get to the cars, the drivers, and everything in these series is amazing. The access you get is amazing, and you don't need to spend like $10,000 on a suite to do it. You know, so I'm excited for you guys. I think you'll have access to like a track that if you went during F1, you'd never be able to get that kind of access. So I'm excited for you guys to come, enjoy it, and really see racing from like a really up close layer. So yeah, it should be really fun.
I'm excited to see that. And your colors are so Miami Vice, which I love.
Yeah.
I love that. So it's going to be cool
the pink
to
and
see
the blue,
it. Yeah, the pink and the blue just riding on the track and all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've gotten some really, you send me inspo too that you get fashion-wise. I know you're trying to be kind of a little fashionista yourself.
A little bit.
I love that. That's one of the things I loved about you.
It's like I said earlier, like I don't want to be boring, and I don't consider myself boring. So like,
You're not.
you know, when I go to the track, I want to look cool. Like I want to wear stuff that fits well and is comfortable and
make a statement that's you.
Yeah,
right.
Stand out a bit as well. You know, because again, I think I'm a non-traditional person in a traditional thing.
Right.
So, not that I necessarily want attention on myself, but I don't want to be lumped in with everyone else.
Yeah.
I want to be what I am.
Stand out.
And
you want to create a name for yourself, and a brand, and I mean it's really exciting just to think about this upcoming race from the that we will have that level of access because that's what's going to allow us to really tell this story, from concept all the way through these limited edition items coming out. But for us to like really show the followers and customers of AIEA like this insider's look. Like they're going to be able to follow along the entire trip and really get to see a behind the scenes look of this partnership. So what are some of your goals with that, Daniella, and like what you want people to see in this partnership and all the media that we're about to be doing? Yeah,
I'm excited for our collab content that we're going to do. I think there's so much about you and I that are similar.
Yeah. Not just the name beginning either.
Right. Yeah.
We basically have the same name. But so I'm excited for that. But we're also building two things from our core. Again, like this idea of like we're really passionate about what we do. And we're building the plane as we're flying it. And like you guys have experienced this partnership with me, obviously, from the past couple of months. And it's just like it turns every 3 days, something is going on. So there's a lot. I would love for people to see the reality of that too, that it's not all sunshine and rainbows all the time, but there's this beautiful outcome that's coming from it. Real relationships are building, friendships also. And I'm experiencing something new too in the world of motorsports. You're being brought into this world of golf, whether you want it or not.
I'm in.
And we'll have to get you on the golf course one of these days. We were talking about that too.
It's going to be interesting because I'm really competitive, but I'm probably not very good. So
you'll be hanging with me. Yeah,
we'll see.
We'll be in the cart together.
Okay, cool.
You guys can be my cart guys.
Okay, cool. Cool. Yeah,
sounds good.
My caddies.
Yeah,
there you go.
They're all about it. No, it is like such a cool partnership. For all of those reasons of just getting to show whoever's following this journey like a real behind the scenes look for both of you guys, right? Because I mean, I see it one way, as a brand owner and business owner myself, but it's like, none of this stuff is easy. Like training for an international circuit, all in manufacturing and building a brand, like it is really hard. And that's what I love about media, and hopefully you're consuming media to learn something or to be inspired in some way. And I think that's an opportunity that we have as brands, is to show people like what's really going into the things that people are consuming, right? These things don't just happen.
Right.
And they come with a lot of headaches and a lot of sleepless nights. And that's the passion that takes you to that next level and really drives you to be successful in whatever industry you are. And like we were talking about with the relatability of a certain mindset, like that's why I support certain brands. If they're just like getting printed t-shirts from China and not really putting, that much into it, I feel like that kind of like translates into the experience of why we want to, get behind certain brands. And now, with media where it is, like we have more access to stories and building relationships with consumers than ever, which is really cool.
Also, something you said before kind of really hit home with me, because there's this thing, I see it on social media all the time, and I try not to compare like we all do, right? But this idea that you basically like die when you turn 30, like nothing good happens after you turn 30, and look at you starting a whole different
I'm
career.
sprouting right now.
And I started my company post 30, and it's like doesn't mean anything bad is going to happen.
No.
You just are following your dream, and maybe you hit a few more roadblocks.
I think it's actually better for me.
Yeah,
that I've started now
I agree with
because again, I think it's very inaccessible for certain demographics of people in general.
Yeah.
But 18-year-old me is a completely different person than 29, 30-year-old me, right? Like I approach things a lot more methodically, and I think I have been able to get some of the results that I have gotten and deal with some of the failures that I've had or the setbacks that I've had in a much more mature way than I would have when I was like 18.
Right.
Yeah, they're not as devastating.
Well, it sucks,
Yeah.
when you do bad or you're not performing how you want to or whatever. But if you just trust the process, like,
you have more resilience.
Yeah, it works.
You build
Yeah,
that
yeah,
resilience. Yeah.
I mean, that's all it is, for anyone that's pursuing anything. I feel like that's the only thing that compounds is your ability to take failure on the chin and keep moving forward.
For sure.
And, we all have moments of self-reflection and self-doubt. And it's like, how can you quiet that internal voice and realize that you're fully capable of whatever you set your mind to?
Yeah.
And it's cool to see just people moving in that way and expressing in that way and pursuing things in that way.
Yeah, exactly. One thing I liked about some of the content that you've been putting out recently with your races is that you're very honest about what was happening in the race, right? If you didn't do, quote, well or as well as you thought you wanted to, you were open about that and you learn from it, and you're not exploding all over the place and you're not like throwing in the towel. You're being real about it. And I think that's really admirable to do. Yeah. And it shows other people in any sport, right? You're an athlete and you're training yourself for a very mentally intense sport and physically too. And you're taking each hit like a champ. And I think it's really admirable. And I'm excited to see it in real life.
No, I appreciate that. It's not easy, right? Like it is definitely hard to, not perform the way you expect and then be resilient, right? It's a conscious effort every single time.
Right.
But it makes, when you take that little step afterwards, like way more rewarding. And it's very cliche, but it genuinely is about the journey, not so much the destination. I've gotten wins before, I've gotten good results before, and I've gotten bad results before, but I learn infinitely more from the bad results than the good ones. And we're going to get more of those not so great results. Like, it's just going to happen, especially as we step into the space that I'm going against people that have been doing this for 10, 20, 30 more years than me, and I'm expected to perform. So, it's really about the journey. You have to be resilient, and you have to just keep an open mind.
Plus, you're going to look cool doing it.
Exactly.
That's what matters most.
100%.
That's the only thing that matters.
Yeah, I remember when I was growing up skateboarding, I wasn't that good. Like, I was okay, but I had friends that have gone on to be like, pros.
Really good.
And I would, no matter whatever I was trying to do, if I had the right fit on,
yeah, exactly,
it just worked.
Yeah.
It just it came together. But if I wasn't feeling it that day, like, it'd be a bad day.
Yeah.
So. What do you think is going on in the fashion world of motorsports right now? Because I feel like it's actually paralleling golf a little bit.
I think it is. It's pretty interesting because, like, you have the Lewis Hamiltons and the Zhou Guanyus and the Lando Norrises, like, at the F1 level, so they're wearing like Prada and all that stuff. That stuff's not really attainable, right? Like, for the average person, and it's great for them, don't get me wrong, but really, I think the biggest thing is, I think I sent you the Mercedes Adidas collab thing they're doing for Miami. Like, that's a normal thing that, like, most people wear. People wear soccer or football jerseys. People wear hockey jerseys. Like, they're comfortable. They look good. They represent their team that they like. And so motorsports is really crossing into that kind of space. And also in with golf, like, again, golf pants. That's like my favorite type of pant.
Yeah, I know. When you told me that, I was shocked.
I love them because they're so comfortable. And I haven't played more than a bit of putt-putt. But I love those golf pants. I buy them all the time, like whatever brand, from cheap to expensive, whatever. They're just super comfortable, and so I love them, right? So I think the cross is more. It's less about the individual sport and more that people just want to be comfortable and they want to look good.
I was just going to say all sports fashion is kind of intermingling.
Yeah.
It's getting just into one big athletic gear thing with like a little bit of an edge per sport, if you will.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a little tailored to a specific sport, but
I think it's awesome.
Yeah. It's just comfort and style.
Yeah, and it's trending more towards like authentic pieces. So, and you know, making a statement, but not being like too loud or too flashy. You know? So, yeah, it's cool to see how we can, you know, bring that out and think forward and innovate in the space. And yeah, I think y'all are really doing something special here, and it's going to be so cool for everybody to follow along this next chapter of AIEA. You know, obviously we want people up to date on what's next and what's coming. So like, how do you see this, you know, summer leading into the fall? Like, what's unfolding here?
Well, this partnership with Daniel is a big part of 2025 for me. This partnership is very different than what any golf brand is doing. So for me, it's kind of just pulling a rabbit out of a hat and hoping it works. And I feel really confident about it, and I feel good about the partners that I have. So I'm excited to build that out this year. We're launching the partnership in May, and we're kind of building a trajectory through October, which is Formula One here in Austin. So it's exciting to maybe do some events in the meantime. Of course, again, like building the plane as we're going. We'll get some things on the books, and to lead up to a final event that we're having in October here in Austin during F1 week, which will not only be a celebration of our partnership, but also the launch of AIEA's Collection 2, finally, which is very exciting for me. And you guys have been in on kind of the trials and tribulations of that lately, but I'm excited to get that out. So it'll be a big jam for golf and moto together.
What's the essence of Collection 2? Like, could you key people in on what's coming?
You know what's interesting? Before I even met Daniel and had this motorsports partnership in mind, the essence of Collection 2 is more moto. Like I didn't even try for it to be that way. It just kind of looks. So everything falls into place how it's supposed to, right? Like you can try to force it all you want, but things build. So it's more of a winter line. So vests and pants and some other exciting things that I won't talk about yet. But it's a 6-piece collection coming out in October. So
I mean, I love to see every step of this process. And it's been so fun to see it up close and personally. And same with you, man. It's going to be really fun to come out to London and get to see you perform and do what you do in such an awesome environment. So it's going to be an exciting next few months for AIEA, and watching you spread your wings and fly with so much that you've put your heart and soul into. And hopefully the followers and everybody that's been following AIEA gets to see a real insider's look at what you're putting into this.
Cool. I'm excited. It's gonna be a great year
for sure.
So
well, let's make sure to key everybody in on where they can follow and where all the announcements are going to be made. And then same for you, Daniel.
Everything can be found at aiegolf.com or on Instagram at AIEA and that's AIEA Golf.
Instagram, Daniel.Oliver25, and on YouTube, Daniel Oliver Racing. Got a lot of cool content coming up, behind the scenes stuff as well. So,
everybody out there listening, you don't want to miss anything. So follow along. We're going to be producing all sorts of content, here this month and leading up to the race and the race itself. And it's going to be a fun summer for AIEA. So let's do it at a high level for everybody that's watching.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.